Today's question comes from Sarah in Chicago, and Sarah wants to know,
should I set a target for the number of activities per salesperson per week? And if so, what's the best way to do this in Salesforce?
well, Sarah, I don't think you should set a hard and fast target, but yes, I do think you should record the number and the type of activities using Salesforce, and I will give you a couple of tips on how best to do that. I mean, it is always important to record activities in Salesforce. In other words, notes about meetings, phone calls, demos, and so on. It's important because we are all so busy that a week later it's hard to remember exactly what every conversation was about or the things you learned about the customer buying process. And when that happens, your sales process quickly goes astray, and we end up failing to secure deals that we would otherwise have won. And I think that's even more important at the moment, given that we're in such challenging commercial situation. But also the fact that everyone is working remotely means it is important that we know what people are doing, because when it comes to tailoring your approach to coaching and guidance, then the number and the type of activities are important metrics. And I will link to a webinar about that in the notes below. However, the thing about a target is you need to take some action if one or more people are not hitting that target, and you're in danger of backing yourself into a corner. What do you do, for example, if your best salesperson is the worst performer on the activities target? And likewise, if a poor sales achiever is hitting her activities target, you're in a compromised position. So I do think you should make it clear that you expect customer facing activities to be recorded, and yes, you should publish a report and a dashboard chart that shows the number of activities each person completes. In this case, we're looking at the number of activities per salesperson per month. This is a useful metric from a coaching perspective because, for example, if someone is doing a lot of activities but has a low opportunity conversion rate, we might want to look at how they're prioritizing their time, or do some call shadowing to look at how they're handling meetings or phone calls or demos. Likewise, if someone has low activity levels at the moment, it could be because they've lost confidence or suffering isolation issues. Having the data means we have a starting point for tailoring our coaching and support and guidance, and that's what's important. Here's a couple of tips for recording activities in Salesforce. First, make the date field mandatory. By default, it isn't mandatory. That means you can have activities without a date, so they are floating around in the ether. And second, make the type field on activities visible and make it mandatory. By default, it's neither of those things. And of course, adjust the pick list values to suit how your salespeople work. So doing those two things, making the date and the type field mandatory, will give you a much better report on the number and type of activities by week or by month, as we've got it here, for example. So that's my view, Sarah. Don't set a target, but yes, do use a report and a dashboard chart in Salesforce to measure the number of activities per salesperson. Now, over to you, everyone else. Leave a comment. I'd love to know what you think about this topic. And of course, if you have a question that you'd like me to cover, again, put it in the comments just below. And by the way, don't forget to follow us on YouTube. Keep safe. See you on tomorrow's video.